Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community. We were doing an Alfa Romeo 4C one-make race with all of the cars completely stock. Our first race would go to the Sebring Club Circuit as we try and fit 3 cars, and we successfully do fit 3 cars wide through turn 1. That's quite a tough place to fit, especially on an opening lap, getting that many cars into such a small piece of tarmac. So well done for everyone for making turn 1 relatively clean. It didn't last. There was a little bit of a lucky bump coming into this next one between a few cars. Someone got fired off. But yeah, turn 1 was remarkably clean for these vehicles. A little later on the lap didn't quite go to plan. I started from the very back of the field, and one thing we are seeing a lot more in Forza 6 with these much larger grids, if you start 24th or if you start outside the top 20, it's a completely random grid, but if you start down the back, it is very hard to make your way through the field. Sometimes you can get lucky and get a whole heap of positions on the opening lap, but you can get stuck in traffic quite a lot. And that was one of the things that I was finding. It was quite difficult. I was very, very quick in these cars, but it was quite difficult to make your way through the field when there's just this constant line of cars in front of you, and especially if they know how to defend. I was trying to find a way past the black Alfa in front of me, but he was trying to overtake the cars ahead as one red Alfa runs out of grip, dipped a wheel on the dirt, and that was him off the track. The black Alfa kind of opens the door as he goes up the inside of the blue car, forces him wide, which is just an invitation straight up for me to get past. He's then up the inside of the red Alfa, and again, he's just left the door wide enough for me to sneak my car through. You have to be very opportunistic with vehicles like these, especially when you're racing all identical cars. When you see an opportunity like that, you gotta pounce on it. You gotta go for it to try and make up as many positions as you can in races like this. As I said, this is the kind of train of cars that was going on. It was quite an impressive group of vehicles early on in this race towards the front of the field as we go down this back straight. We've got cars trying to go around the outside. The turquoisey vehicle just outbraked himself a little bit. That makes him slow off the corner, and that puts you under all sorts of pressure. I mean, this is quite a difficult part for cars in the middle of these kind of trains, because you want to attack the vehicle ahead. I mean, the turquoise car was trying to attack the car ahead, but now he's got on the curb, pushing too hard, gets the car sideways, and you're going to lose 2 positions. Little mistakes can be incredibly costly in cars like these when everybody is so close together. One thing I will say, I love the Alfa 4C. I think it's a great car. A lot of people didn't like driving this car in this race. A lot of people complaining about them being twitchy. I only ever had problems when I hit a curb. I did spin it at one point during this race, which is why I got dumped back into this group again. But hit the curb, it's very easy to get the car spinning. I love to drive it though. I thought it was a great car to go racing. But even with my occasional accident, I found somebody to go race with again. I had a lot of fun in this opening race. I spotted a gap up the inside. I could get my nose far enough alongside so he couldn't quite shut the door. He had to give me space. If you come straight across with my cars there, you've got to spin yourself out. So he has to give me space. That then can keep me on the inside for the next corner. This time though, the red car is wise to it and doesn't leave the door open to let the blue car through as well. One thing, again, when you're racing cars as close as this, or when you're racing equal cars like this, it's very important to almost know how to be overtaken. It's very easy to lose multiple positions when there's a big train of cars. So yeah, he did well there to only lose 1 position. As the race progressed, of course, the field got a little bit more spread out, but there was still plenty of little battles going on throughout the order. I think this was for around about 5th. At the time, the turquoise car here trying to hold on to his position. The purple car had to go into turn 1. It was a decent opportunity, but because they're in this really tight group, it's just put him out of position a little bit, made him a little bit slow. Now the white car wants to buy into things up the inside. He can't quite get it stopped. They touch ever so slightly. Amazingly, they get away with that. You can see often a lot worse than that with contact at that corner. They do get through it, but now the purple car's in that little bit of trouble. There's a gap up the inside, much like you saw my overtake a second ago. Very, very similar story. The white car could get himself far enough alongside just to force the purple car to give him some space, and then up the next corner, it is straight up the inside. But the pass not quite so simple, as he gets a big oversteer moment, a big twitch with the Alfa. Gets it under control, but can't quite keep hold of the position as the purple car gets much better drive off the corner. Though then, as they come down this start-finish straight, they are almost side by side, incredibly close, running down here as the white car goes to the outside. I'm not sure if the purple car missed a gear or what. Either way, he didn't quite have the straight line speed to defend off the position. The white car could get ahead of him before they got to turn 1. It was a pretty exciting race, actually. The leader, not so much, though. The leader started on pole, or certainly started on the front row, and buggered off from the rest of the field. This is something that we have been seeing a little bit more with so many cars in races. If you can start at the front, and if you can get a clean opening lap and get away from the field, it makes your life a hell of a lot easier. I mean, I think that was second place there in the background. It wasn't a humongous margin of victory, but it was enough. They could get to the lead, and they just weren't under pressure, weren't constantly attacking and having to defend and so on. And yeah, getting that nice bit of clean air is always useful. Of course, you've got to not make any mistakes, though, when you do like that. And second race, my terrible luck with random grids continued. I was at the back once again. We went to the Circuit of the Americas, the West Alternate layout. This is a track that a lot of people don't seem to like, and I don't know why, because I think it's a fantastic layout of the track. Admittedly, turn 1 here is always a little bit iffy. I'm going to go with iffy as a word to describe turn 1 here. It's not a good first corner. It's uphill, and it's such a wide run into a tiny, narrow corner. It's awful. It's just asking for accidents. But amazingly, turn 1 wasn't the problem. It was through the S's that were all sorts of problems, with cars hitting curbs and spinning sideways. Further back, it was absolute mayhem. This front group got through relatively well. You saw a car up ahead billowing smoke as he got sideways. Yeah, it was quite chaotic further back, with cars spinning out the vehicle. We're following at the moment, though. Got through the chaos, is going for the inside. This is a great overtaking spot down into this corner, much better than turn 1. Car we're following just got a little bit too deep. He got away with it, though, as the other car equally did a very, very similar thing about braking himself. Yeah, these cars on these curbs was a little bit of a problem. Certainly, we saw quite a few spinners early on. Had to be careful with running the curbs in these 4Cs. And again, we had in these opening laps, with single make racing, you often get lots and lots of close racing. That's why I love this kind of event. And sure enough, there were plenty of large groups of cars. This is the run up in towards turn 1. I mean, the difficulty with overtaking in turn 1 is you can throw your car up the inside. It's fine, but you end up taking such a tight line through there that you can't really get an overtake done very comfortably. As we see here, the yellow and black car can easily hold it around the outside, and there's a pair of them going side by side up ahead through the S's. It's too wide, they're sliding all over the place. Somehow, amazingly, they don't end up in the back of each other. The blue car just doesn't have the grip through these corners. It's just pushing it a little bit too hard again. Big slide from the blue Alfa as we run onto this back straight. Eventually runs out of track. The red Alfa very, very quick onto this short back straight. He's up the inside of the yellow car. Can he get it stopped in time? And he can. The yellow car is stuck out wide, but that will put you on the inside for the next corner. The red vehicle's almost just about ahead, and he can get in front of the yellow car. Great overtake there from the red vehicle. Just another great opportunistic move. He saw a gap and he went for it. Again, I had a lot of cars to overtake. Was pretty damn fast in these things, and I had a new favourite overtaking spot at this circuit. I saw the white car up ahead of me, got a big slide, got things wrong and was slow into this section. I just carry the speed, carry a lot of speed through here. We go too wide through this kind of S section almost onto the back straight. It's just straight around the outside. You could carry a lot of speed coming into that section, that kind of where it breaks off from the main circuit. A lot of people were very, very cautious on that part of the track. You could actually get away with carrying a lot of speed, so I was making up a lot of positions by being very, very fast through that part. Towards the front, and the battle for second was pretty close. It was a three-way battle for the second place. The leader had, again, once it got to the lead, buggered off from these guys, but the neon greeny yellow car got things a little bit wrong into the second to last corner. And as we saw at Sebring, just that little mistake can cost you an awful lot, and that's two cars got past because of one slightly sideways moment. Yeah, when you're racing in a pack like this, you just simply can't afford to make any mistakes, because the other cars are going to pounce, and they both came flying past. I mean, he remains, he's kind of having a look at turn 1, but once you've done that, yeah, you're in a little bit of trouble. I continued my steady march through the field. Again, it was quite an enjoyable race for me. It was a lot of overtaking going on from my point of view, but I was gradually running out of laps to catch the leaders and so on. I don't really like going for an overtake at turn 1, so you see me there. I could have had a big dive up the inside. I didn't really want to. I knew we were just going to compromise each other and mess up our lines, and likely to cause ourselves to be caught by the vehicles behind. I had a look at trying to go side by side through the S's quickly, quickly realised it was a dumb idea, and then focused on the area I knew I was quick. This next corner here. You see the white car was slow on the way in, but he's just quick enough. I can't get my car around the outside. I'm forced to give up on that particular move. The white car gets a bit of a slide on, and that gives me space to get to the inside, but even that little exchange has allowed the two cars behind to catch up. The red Alfa has a big dive up the inside. Again, he really goes for it on the inside. The white car behind gets the best run of all of them, and then with 3 wide through the next corner. Not an ideal place to really be 3 wide. I'm very sideways. The red car's very sideways. I think in all of the smoke, the white car couldn't actually quite see where the poor red vehicle is, and he ends up getting turned around, which is, a little bit unfortunate in all of that. But, there was... There was quite a lot of chaos going on further back with some of the action. At the front, though, as I said, this was a red Alfa that would take victory. He again started towards the front of the field, got to the lead very, very early on, made no mistakes, and was far quicker than the rest of us, especially with all of us stuck in battles. So yeah, again, relatively straightforward victory for the red car here. Yeah, it was. The curbs kind of messed up, well, I say messed up this race a little, but you have to be very, very wary of the curbs. They could cause a lot of problems for these 4Cs. So we did have an unusually high amount of spinners in that Circuit of the Americas race. Our final race would go to the Bugatti circuit in the pouring rain. This is a track that I don't really like at all, but I wanted to use it as it's a place we haven't gone to yet in a versus the community, so I thought, yeah, I'm sure there are some people that like this circuit, but it's certainly not certainly not my sort of track, this one. Turn 1, kind of, 1-2 area. This bit up here is, again, notorious for having the odd incident here and there. We did have one spinner, but considering we're in the rain with cars that had proven quite difficult to drive, we all got through that first section remarkably well. I was fearing at least there was going to be a little bit more chaos. I was actually having a look at trying to get to the lead through this long corner. There's plenty of cars trying to fit 2 wide through that turn. As we got, again, more 2 wide action going on. This opening at the vehicle we're following was having a look up the inside of the pink car, but couldn't really do anything too much about it. You've got to be careful with the puddles, though. Puddles around this track are a scary prospect when vehicles are all going too wide. Again, we saw the odd spinner here and there, but in all honesty, it actually did pretty well on this circuit, despite the cars having proved quite difficult at Circuit of the Americas and Sebring. We had much less of the way of incidents. I think people were just being more cautious, knowing that the rain could potentially cause issues. The vehicle we're following at the moment, trying to make his way up through the order, spotted a gap up the inside, very clean overtake. This is probably one of the best overtaking places on the track. It's a relatively big braking zone into a nice slow corner, and a nice solid overtake up the inside. But it was always risky going offline because of there are plenty of puddles lining the place for when things go wrong. And a lot of people haven't necessarily driven this circuit very much in the rain. Sebring, we know where all the puddles are, but here, not so much. I was in the 3-way battle for the lead, but was struggling a little bit at this circuit. I'm not particularly good around here, and was struggling a little bit for pace as I lost my second place with a slight outbraking manoeuvre, but I wasn't going to be giving up anytime soon. Thought about going around the outside of the final corner, knew I wouldn't have the grip, so cut back to the inside, trying to get that really, really good run down the start-finish straight, and it worked. I got the good run off of the turn. It got my car to the inside, and we're going side by side up towards turn 1. In the wet, you can be flat out through here, but it is only just about. I have to lift because I'm on such a tight line. The car on the outside doesn't actually realise I'm still alongside, comes across a little bit. We ever so slightly bump, but we get out the other side, and without any harm done, I get a very big slide. I was trying to go for the inside on the run down to this next corner. The big slide, though, from my Alfa killed that one. At the end of the day, I kind of knew I was going to be struggling a little bit around this circuit, as I said. Not a particularly fun track for me, but holding on to third at this stage, I wasn't too displeased. This corner was a challenging one. As I said, you could just about get away with being flat out through that first kind of kink, but that made braking for that next turn really rather interesting. As you saw, this white car got very, very sideways. He had a big dive up the inside. Actually quite difficult to do an overtake through this corner. It's such a long corner, such a slow, nasty off-camber corner. It's very difficult to get passes done there. So well done for actually, firing the car up the inside and making the move stick. but the pink car there is still very much in contention, still there right behind through this this next corner. Yeah, that's it's a tricky place, that one, to get an overtake. This group, though, continued battle. I think the white car may have made a mistake and dropped back behind the pink car and then made a much bigger mistake into the first corner. That's what the puddles will do. That's a much bigger sideways moment. He catches it before going to visit the barriers, but yeah, that's not what you want to be doing on the way into that chicane. And the red car we're riding on board with has got one of them. He thinks about repeating the manoeuvre up the inside. The pink car's wise to it, though, this time round. Defends the inside through this long corner, and as I say, you're not really going to go around the outside in identical cars in the wet around there. You're just not going to quite have the grip, but the red car is very, very fast off the turn. He's putting all of the pressure on the pink vehicle as they run into the next turn, and sure enough, the 73 there just runs a little bit too wide, leaves the door wide open on the exit. It can be a nice cutback from the red car. You've got to be very careful running too wide down there. You see the 73 get a big twitch. There was a horrible puddle on that part of the track that could cause all sorts of issues. I went off on that puddle at one point in the race, which is why I dropped back towards this group. Yeah, you've got to be careful. He did well to keep that one under control. Unlike the other two races, it wasn't plain sailing for the victory here. While this car did lead from start to finish, he was constantly under pressure from vehicles. I put him under pressure in the early laps, and after I had a bit of an off and dropped back, he was coming under more pressure from another Alfa, but he held on to take victory as he run into these final few corners. Second place is just too far back to do anything about him. So yeah, it was a bit more exciting race, this one at the front. A little bit more of a challenge for the lead in this one, which is always good, which is always what you'd see. It was a challenging circuit, certainly, for these cars. I would end up in third, just holding on to third in that race. I don't like the Bugatti circuit particularly. It's not a good track for me, but well, I'll take a podium where I can get one. Anyway, that is it for this week's Versus the Community. The next one shall be on Thursday the 5th of November. We are going to be racing A-Class 4-cylinder cars. So any car with a 4-cylinder engine, you can engine swap it to something that is a 4-cylinder engine. If it doesn't naturally come with one, that's absolutely fine. Anything with a 4-cylinder engine in A-Class is eligible to race. If you want to sign up and take part, then you can go to our forums. There'll be a link in the description. Find the FailRace versus the community section, and you can sign up in there. But that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.